Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Erik Voss, and Marvel's Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings is one MCU title moving forward, with videos showing the film's production in Australia, with major visual clues pointing to the movie's mystery plot, and what I believe could be not only the movie's dark opening scene, but the insane way it could blow open Marvel's future Avengers story in a post-credits scene. Now, I've been waiting to go into Shang-Chi, aside from some bonkers theories about Tony Stark's old tech. But let's now talk about this dude. Spoiler warning though, because I'm gonna get into some rumored plot leaks, nothing you wouldn't be able to guess from the comics mythology, stuff the cast and crew have said, and hot scoops from Sydney's local news. Knifey spoony, that's a green wall. Sorry about that. So, Shang-Chi is Marvel Comics' Bruce Lee. Literally, he was conceived as a martial arts hero directly inspired by Bruce Lee's films, namely the massive hit Enter the Dragon, which came out months before Shang-Chi's Marvel debut in 1973. Shang-Chi is the son of his enemy Fu Manchu, and yes, over the years, Marvel has had to kind of course correct some of his earlier depictions, which the movie adaptation now appears to be very sensitive to in front of and behind the camera. Martial arts badass Simu Liu is playing the title role after posting a long shot post on social media saying he'd be down to do it, which we can do that because I will play anything. I'm dying to be in the MCU, please. I can act, I have headshots, I took improv classes, I know how to do it. Anyway, one of Shang-Chi's recurring foes is the Mandarin, also a big Iron Man villain. And this is where this becomes very important to the MCU you already know. Mandarin is tied to the 10 Rings of Power, pieces of ancient McLuhan tech that he recovered from crashed alien wreckage. Each ring possesses the spirit of an ancient warrior and endow the wielder with a different mystical power. Yeah, we're kind of talking Infinity Stones language here, but I don't think Marvel is gonna go right back in the direction of magic jewelry. Tony Leung will be playing the Mandarin in Shang-Chi, and set imagery reveals what I believe to be his lair, a large golden roof structure surrounded by smaller ones, and if you look closely in the corner of that compound, a dome that I think could be a fighting pit or an arena that could be the setting of a tournament that the Mandarin is involved with. More on that in a bit. Now, in the MCU, the Ten Rings refers to the network of criminal enterprises that we've seen since the beginning. The Ten Rings was connected to the terrorist cell headed up by Raza in the first Iron Man, and the guy who gave Ivan Vanko whiplash forged travel documents in Iron Man 2 was a Ten Rings operative. In Iron Man 3, Aldrich Killian used British actor Trevor Slattery to pose as a fake version of the Mandarin. But then, in a short film, All Hail the King, documentary filmmaker Jackson Norris revealed himself to be a Ten Rings member with a wrist tattoo, abducting Slattery from Seagate Prison to answer to the real Mandarin for stealing his identity.
You took his name, and now he wants it back.
No, sorry. I still don't get it.
Well, before we continue, losing your hair is a bummer. 2 out of 3 guys will experience some form of male pattern baldness by the time they're 35. We don't want that, we'll get cold. Well, with Keeps, it's easier and more affordable to get treatment for your hair loss and help you keep the hair that you have. Keeps offers generic versions of the only 2 FDA-approved hair loss products out there, but at half the cost of your local pharmacy. And you don't even have to go to a doctor's office. You can do it all from home, where you're probably stuck right now. You meet with a doctor online and they ship the treatment right to your home. Find out why Keeps has more 5-star reviews than any of its competitors, and nearly 100,000 men trust Keeps for their hair loss prevention medication. So if you're noticing that you're losing your hair, do something about it. For a limited time, go to keeps.com/newrockstars or click the link in the description to receive 50% off your first order. What a deal! That same Ten Rings tattoo also showed up on the neck of one of the interested buyers of Darren Cross's Yellow Jacket tech in the Ant-Man movie. And if you've been listening closely, various clues dropped by these fellas could signal this network's true agenda. Raza lectured about the history of Genghis Khan and Asian dominance.
The bow and arrow once was the pinnacle of weapons technology. It allowed the great Genghis Khan to rule from the Pacific to the Ukraine. A man with a dozen of these can rule all of Asia.
And Norris echoed this history lesson.
So, you mean to tell me that you don't know the history of the Mandarin himself? He was a warrior king, inspired generations of men through the Middle Ages. perhaps even further back in time.
Now, rumored casting reports speculated that Shang-Chi could feature a ruler of a distant ancient kingdom believed to be Genghis Khan in this movie, shown via flashbacks, with Genghis Khan being a possible ancestor of the Mandarin himself, whose origin could be set during China's Song Dynasty and the Turco-Persian Seljuk Dynasty. Another recent casting notice in Sydney is looking for archers, suggesting that Raza's line about Genghis Khan's bows and arrows might be a history we see in Shang-Chi. Awkwafina is joining the cast, and social media posts from Michelle Yeoh and comedian Ronnie Chang suggest that they'll be joining the cast as well, with some rumored casting of fighter Florian Montianu, Big Nasty, Sarah Finn, Rosalind Chow, and Fala Chen. But it's not really clear if or who these actors would be playing, but based on these set images and rumors based on the movie's influences from Enter the Dragon, it sounds like a big part of the Shang-Chi plot will be a major fighting tournament. See, in Enter the Dragon, Bruce Lee gets invited to participate in a tournament by the villain Han, and encouraged by the British intelligence to participate in it in order to bring down Han's criminal operation. The movie is awesome, and it's been hugely influential not just on the character of Shang-Chi in the comics, who has teamed up with British intelligence MI6 agents like Clive Resson, Leiko Wu, and Black Jar Tar, but it's also been influential on all kinds of things like Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, you know, the stuff we grew up with, these big bonkers international tournaments filled with diverse, eclectic fighters. So with this movie, it's speculated that Shang-Chi would have to enter this tournament either on behalf of the Mandarin or against the Mandarin in order to win the prize of the tournament, the 10 Rings of Power. Big Nasty could be another warrior in the tournament, and Shang-Chi could be aided by the MI6 in order to stop the Mandarin from getting those rings. You know, kind of like how in Casino Royale, James Bond had to enter the poker tournament and he was backed by MI6 and the CIA in order to bring down the bad guy. And with Shang-Chi and the Mandarin, we're talking real bad, folks, because I believe the dark opening scene to introduce him in the coolest way would be to have him kill off Trevor Slattery, the Mandarin imposter from Iron Man 3. Just because at Comic-Con, Kevin Feige seemed really clear that All Hail the King short was very important. And in that short, Norris made it clear that he wasn't going to be the one who kills Slattery, suggesting the boss is going to be the one to do it. But then after that opening scene, I think the struggle many of us have with this movie is how this martial arts plot could fit into, you know, the MCU, a broader cosmic cinematic universe set across galaxies and dimensions. One theory I had is that the 10 Rings of Power might be connected to powerful rings we've seen throughout the MCU, like Raza had a ring, the King of Wakanda has a vibranium ring, the Sorcerer Supreme uses a sling ring, maybe Namor's got a ring made out of coral and pearls, you know. But I still suspect Marvel Studios isn't gonna go back to magic bling being a big deal. However, one future plot they have teased is Secret Wars. The Russo brothers themselves keep mentioning it in interviews, promising that it's going to be an even bigger crossover event than Endgame. Now, Secret Wars is a comic crossover in the 80s in which all of Marvel's heroes and villains are teleported to an interdimensional battlefield, pitted against each other in a tournament by a figure called the Beyonder. So, here is my theory for Shang-Chi. What if this tournament is being hosted by the Mandarin as a kind of bargain, in which he would get the 10 Rings of Power in exchange for Earth's deadliest hand-to-hand warrior, the victorious Shang-Chi, handed off to the Beyonder to be transported to Battleworld and spar in a future Avengers Secret Wars. Think about it, the Beyonder could be the villain behind the villain teased in Shang-Chi's post-credit scene, the way Thanos was teased in the post-credit scene of Avengers. This could set up the next Avengers crossover event in Phase 5, making Shang-Chi the warrior on the front lines of it. Folks, Shang-Chi is scheduled for May 7th, 2021. Hopefully we'll get a trailer by the end of this year. Until then, join our nerdy discussion on our official Discord server by becoming a patron at patreon.com/newrockstars. Follow me on Instagram at EA Voss, follow New Rockstars, and subscribe for breakdowns of everything you love. And I think I could play the Beyonder. Let's get the movement started. #Voss for Beyonder. Come on, help me out.